First of all, I certainly wouldn't go out to dinner with her under the guise of a girls' night and then she's meeting up with him. I wouldn't do that under any circumstance for any friend in any capacity because I wouldn't want to be privy to that. But even more so, like, I probably would distance myself from them as a couple. I don't know that I would tell because ultimately, I don't know. That's not really my business to tell. I can only do what I can do, which is not agree with it and separate myself. Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea.
What's up, cocktailers?
Good morning. First of all, B, how are you feeling today? I know you had a little bit of a day yesterday.
Well, it was my sister-in-law's birthday, and we are down in Florida at our condo. So, guys, I am in the library because I still can't. Well, first of all, I did pay for Wi-Fi, but the kids are up there. It's early here. So I just came to the library hoping no one disturbs me because I figured you all didn't want to hear 4 kids running around in the background because I have my niece and nephew here with me. I'm good. You know what? I did a lot of day drinking, but we got to bed early and I feel all right.
That's good. And one day we'll build the custom podcast studio into your condo.
Right? That would be, or we'll at least convert the walk-in closet.
I am still in the closet. It's still in here and it's a total mess.
We like our closet.
We do. We like the closet. Okay, so, all right. We had got to start with Schwartz on Watch What Happens Live. I have thoughts. I know you have thoughts. I think Andy had reaction. It was good TV. So why don't I, just for anyone who hasn't watched it, I'll just do a quick summary. So he is on there with like Rob Lowe's son or something. I don't know. The guy barely talked because it was just like captivating. And I thought it was very interesting because Andy really just kind of let him go. I feel like he usually kind of interrupts and makes him play games. There were no games. It was very like, I'm interviewing, like sit down, tell the truth kind of situation.
By the way, I was traveling like when it was on. So I'm seeing all these messages come in and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've since seen it, but I'm like, I can't believe I'm missing this. So I had to like use my followers. I was like, what's going on? Tell me. And like, obviously other accounts that I saw posting, I was just reposting their stuff because I wasn't even watching it.
Yeah. And I didn't watch it until the day after because I go to bed at 9:30. It comes on super late here, or I fall asleep watching TV. So yeah, I definitely was seeing the post come in as well. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch. So he comes out and says that he knew about a one-night stand with Sandoval and Rochelle in August. When was Scheana's wedding? It was in August. Okay. So what we don't know is if this happened before or after. I'm guessing it must have been after. The one-night stand must have been after the wedding because that would have been strange if...
Well, I don't know. So here's the thing with that. And I saw somebody post this, or a follower sent this to me. No, actually a follower sent it. I think I screenshot it. And the person said to me, watching the episode makes it obvious to them that she was hooking up with Sandoval, but it was a secret. So they think that she was so like kept pursuing Schwartz to really rub it in his face for him to dump Ariana. Yes. And that makes sense. I'm of the belief, and I'm not changing this belief, that it was since Coachella. And I think it's great that he admitted it was August. I think that he is trying to absolve himself publicly of blame Schwartz and still not being truthful.
I don't think he did a very good job. Okay, let me give more of the summary. There's just so much to talk about, though, and I have questions. I have so many questions. Okay, he said he thought it was just an emotional affair after the one-night stand until January. And then in January, Sandoval told Schwartz that he was in love with Rochelle. And that after that, that's when Sandoval became flagrant and brazen with the affair. Schwartz says that Sandoval told him he tried to end the relationship with Ariana multiple times.
I'm just going to jump in here and say I don't believe that. Although, and this is hot tea, I saw on Dumois, there's a rumor that at the reunion, the first part, Ariana admits that she was aware of Sandoval cheating in the past. I don't know if we'll learn, was that 8 years ago? Was it several times over the course of their 9-year relationship? I hope we get those details. I'm sure Andy will ask, but that will be interesting to hear.
Yeah, it will be. I heard, by the way, that they're going to release an extra long version of the reunion on Peacock only, which I think is very, very smart. Whoever's running Peacock is doing a really, really good job. Okay, let's see here. What else we got? Schwartz says, oh yeah, we already said that. The mob mentality, I guess, against Rochelle and against Sandoval is getting out of control. That he himself is mad at Sandoval for putting him in, a compromising position. He then used the word heroin when he said that Sandoval is addicted to Rochelle. He said she is his heroine. So the other funny thing is it starts out because like the last time Schwartz kept putting his hand in front of his face. So this time he comes on and he has these like weighted like cuffs on his arms and he shows them. He's like, because you guys keep telling me that I keep touching my face. So he's wearing them, and then at some point, and he's like, I'm just going to take them off. And then he starts touching his face. So,
like, unhinged honestly, in a way, it was a throwback to, before crisis management and PR teams and social media blew everything up. So it was great TV, but what are you doing?
What are you doing? And like, clearly your tell as far as lying goes is touching your face. And it's like, I'm taking these cuffs off so I can get more comfortable and go back to lying again, is how I interpreted the body language, right? So Schwartz said he didn't know about Sandoval and Rochelle when he kissed Rochelle. Ariana eviscerated Sandoval and Rochelle at the reunion, more Sandoval than Rochelle. And he said that Sandoval had told him he was going to tell Ariana after the reunion. And then he ends with saying, like, hey, give Sandoval, after he already called him a monster for doing all this. And he said, well, he's really down. Give Sandoval a hug if you see him.
He also said about Katie, like he praised her on the show and then in the after show was calling her a monster repeatedly. I mean, what my opinion is, if we're asking for my opinion, is that crack is whack. I don't know if it was about the pasta. I know the pasta is a hell of a drug. I actually posted a funny meme and Kyle Cook wrote a whole diatribe about how it's so hard for them. And my response was, Kyle, you really shouldn't group yourself in with the Toms. Aren't you better than them? It actually got picked up by comments by Bravo. Shout out to them. They're a fantastic account. They have a great pod. They're also comments by celebs. They always like repost when Bravo stars comment on like memes or each other's posts. So, when they repost, it's great for us accounts because they're a big account and they get us a lot of follows. So thank you. Kyle probably so good. I listened to their podcast. I think that Kyle was probably on his 5th lover boy when he wrote that. And when he woke up today and he saw that it was shared by comments by Bravo, probably was like, shit, why did I do that? Why didn't I listen to Amanda when she told me just let it go? Listen, I think that, first of all, I think it's interesting, and I'm going to be vague here, but I do think it's interesting that he said she's like his heroine. I do think that, quite honestly, Sandoval looks unwell in his face. He doesn't look healthy. I don't know. It doesn't look like a drinking face because that's usually puffy. So I don't know. He doesn't look well. Maybe that's the route he goes, is sober up and come out and say, like, I had an addiction and I'm getting help. And maybe that would get him some sort of grace from viewers.
But when you're
Yeah.
saying this, like, are we double entendring here? Or are we saying, like, stop seeing Rochelle if she's your heroine? Like, are we saying, like, maybe he does have, like, he is doing, like, something else
I
physically
feel
that
like
is
he
not
is.
healthy?
Even the clips you see of his concert and stuff, he doesn't look well. I'm just going to say it like that. He doesn't look
Yeah,
sober.
I don't know. Nobody
I
looks
don't
very
know.
well after going through something this horrific too, though. So it's hard to say. But he, like, I agree with you that he doesn't look. His eyes kind of look a little hollow. He just looks, yeah.
But he looks stupid. He was spinning, flipping the story. He was trying to make this is Schwartz. He was trying to make it, to me, he was trying to make it seem like, okay, I'm finally telling the truth, but he just changed the lies. So I think he knew from the beginning. I think he made out with her. I personally think that he just figured she was a pass around girl. Um, I'm fairly certain that the Toms have had quite a few of those over the years. Pass around girls, that is. All I know is I believe Schwartz knew from the beginning. I think that the Toms are the same as Jax always was, and that it makes sense why Jax was always salty, but also why Tom Schwartz always backed him up. I think Sandoval's misstep was like condemning Jax publicly a couple times over the years. He mostly supported him when he was doing the same stuff. And I think he's damn lucky that Jax waited until now to drop it, because he certainly could have sooner.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes me look at Jax a little differently. Okay, I have a question, but I want to just say something about Tom first because I watched the show first. I watched the show first and then I watched the Watch What Happens Live. And I'm watching Tom and I'm like, it's kind of interesting. I don't know that I've ever noticed this about him. He uses some vocabulary. Like he uses some pretty like big words, and twice in that episode there he uses words that Katie was like, "Wait, what?" Like provocateur, like what does that mean? And is he I just started to wonder. I'm like, is he smarter than he comes off? If he is he playing a part here? Is he playing the dopey guy on purpose because he knows that is what like his persona is? Because we've seen some other people play this part pretty well and have, play a part to a certain extent and come off pretty well. I don't know. Or is he just
Interesting.
totally not
Interesting.
self-aware?
I mean, it could probably go either way. I mean, he may be a bright guy. Um, I just also think that, like, even his show, like showing on Watch What Happens Live and him just being honest, I think that there's a way about him that he does play this dopey, silly guy, but I also think he's invincible. I think that he could say he's mad at Sandoval. He could say he's concerned about the business. I don't believe it. I think that when everything's turned off, he's saying, like, this is just all publicity is good publicity, and keep showing my ass, and people keep tuning in, and they're, even if the audience hates us, they're not going to get rid of us, Tom. So I do think that both of them are that way. I think that, and I think it's short-sighted, because I think that certainly in the short term, yes, they'll keep them because it is great right now. But I also think that that's fine. But once we see this through, I don't think there's much of a life for them on the network after this. That's just my opinion. Like, I think that similar to Jax, like, you play it until the finish line, and then Bravo's like, yeah, but now people hate you too much, so you're out.
Right. So here's
I
another
don't
question.
think that they can comprehend that, though. I think if they heard that, they would be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Okay, so here's another question I have for you. So have you, I find myself thinking about this because I start to think about like, where is the line, right? Because like, have you ever had, I don't know if you've ever had a situation like this, but I have, where a very good friend of mine does something that I completely don't agree with, but that my friend is my friend and I am supportive and I say that's not what I would do, but I love you, I love you no matter what, whether it's whatever it is, right? And like, as I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I could see a situation where if I were the friend and like my friend was cheating on her husband, right? That like, would I tell the husband? And if my best friend is my best friend, I probably am saying to my best friend, like, look, I don't agree with what you're doing. I don't, like personally, I don't think cheating is good. I think if you feel the need to cheat, then you should end your marriage and then go do what you want to do. But there would be a line, right? Where it's like it's going on and there's all these people involved and you're also friends with with the husband. Like at some point you gotta say something, right? Like, or you tell your best friend, like, look, you tell so and so, or I'm going to, right?
So here's the thing, and this is fortunately, I haven't had a friend who shared that like an affair with me. So I think that if a friend comes to you and they're like, B, listen, like I stepped out, I made a mistake and confides in you and it's over and it's done, it's a totally separate thing than you being aware of an active situation. And if it's somebody that you don't see, I think it's easier. Okay, as an example, if it's one of my friends from college who lives in a different state, right? And we are, do a girls' weekend and she confides this in me and it's still going on. And now like I may or may not even really know her husband, right? Because they got married and we always lived in separate states. And so it wasn't like it's somebody I know from college as well. And so I don't have a connection and I'm not in their lives every day. I think that, and even though this is probably bad to say, I think that I would be able to kind of I probably would still say to them, like, I kind of don't want to hear about this. Like, I don't agree with it and just don't talk to me about it. Because but I think that I probably wouldn't feel compelled to out my friend. Whereas if it was a friend who is in my neighborhood and let's say our kids are friends and we go to things together and we do date nights as couples, I think that I would say to my friend, like, if it was an active thing, I would say to them, like, I don't want to know about it. And if I knew it was still going on, I don't know. I've never been in this situation. I probably would stop hanging out with them.
So you're saying you would not go on a ski trip to Big Bear with them?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
mean, what do you think?
Well, okay, first of all, I certainly wouldn't go out to dinner with her under the guise of a girls' night and then she's meeting up with him. I wouldn't do that under any circumstance for any friend in any capacity because I wouldn't want to be privy to that. But even more so, like, I probably would distance myself from them as a couple. I don't know that I would tell because ultimately I don't, that's not really my business to tell. I can only do what I can do, which is not agree with it and separate myself.
What do you think Tom Schwartz should have done, assuming that what he said on Watch What Happens Live is true, and that he knew about the one night stand, then he thought it was an emotional affair, and then he knew it was flagrant starting in January? What do you think Schwartz should have done?
I think at a minimum, he should not have been socializing with Raquel and Tom while they were cheating. At a minimum. I mean, they're business partners, so he can't distance himself completely. But I do think that he should not have gone away with them. I do think that he should not have hung out with them. So yeah.
I just wonder, like, because in my opinion, I think I would say, like, look, like, you tell her, or I'm going to, like, this is not okay. You're hurting a lot of people here. This is not the friend that I know.
Well, here's the thing. So Amanda, let's add the layer that we haven't added to this. So now, not only is my friend having an affair and I'm friends with the couple and we socialize, but the person she's having an affair with is the ex-husband of another mutual friend. Because Raquel is also James's ex-fiance. And so she's having an affair. And on top of that, the husbands are very tight. So let's call her Mary is married to John and she's cheating with Joe, and John and Joe are best buddies. They golf together every weekend and they're also best buddies with her ex-fiance, Mike. So in this case, it would be different because like I'm going to probably tell because you're freaking cheating with our friend. because the scenario you and I just worked through, right? I was picturing a stranger, which is different. I don't care what anybody says. It's a double betrayal. Is it an equally double? No. I think that, and we heard, he said Ariana was harder on Sandoval, and she should be. That's the person who was committed to her. But with that said, it's not like my friend Mary is having an affair with the trainer at a gym that none of us go to and is in 3 towns away and nobody knows this guy, right? Different.
Well,
still shitty, but different.
Because like that, I don't feel like, and that's kind of where I was too. Because I'm like, I feel like you can be a good friend and you can be a supportive friend and say, look, I love you no matter what, but like you gotta fucking do something. This is not okay, right? Like you've got to do something. Like this is.
I think you can be a supportive friend and say to them, like, morally, like, I disagree with what you're doing and I think you should stop. And if they don't stop, you can say to yourself, and you don't need to say it to the person, I don't want somebody in my life, and this is how I would feel. I don't need to be close friends with somebody who is willing to treat their husband, their friends like this and lie to them and live a double life. That, for me, that is not somebody that I value in any way. And when someone shows you who they are, as the great Maya Angelou said, believe them the first time. And to much smaller degrees, I have exited friendships because they did things that I just, and it's not always a conversation. It could just be like, wow, and that's everybody's own decision and how people protect their own peace and what they value,
It's just, there are so many layers to this onion, and with them having these businesses together, and Tom Schwartz also said on the Watch What Happens Live that people have been vandalizing the restaurant and that kind of stuff, and it's like, and he's like,
I don't know about any of that. We haven't seen it, and from what we know, the crowds are there, so
yeah, I'm sure, like the curiosity crowd like we talked about.
Listen, and again, when you're a public person, like even myself, like if I posted something that had an undertone of, I don't know, racism. I'm just making this up. And like a lot of my followers turned on me and unfollowed me. That would be warranted because I posted something that is out of line with the persona that I've represented myself to be. And now that they see that side of me, they don't want to be associated. I mean, we see it all the time with public figures and scandals, right? So Will Smith, look at Will Smith. I mean, I was a fan of Will Smith since I'm a kid, loved his music, his corny rap music, loved Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, loved everything he's ever done. When he smacked Chris Rock across the face like that, I'll never look at him in the same. There's nothing he could say or do to me. It showed me who he is, and not a fan. Won't support him. Not interested.
What do you think Tom Schwartz's motivation was?
And the next thing is going to be like that we cancel people. But I'm not saying, so I'm just going to touch on that. I'm not saying everybody needs to feel that way about Will Smith, but that's how I feel. So I'm not saying to cancel the guy. I'm just saying I'm no longer interested in him. Sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I agree with you. What do you think Schwartz's motivation was coming on? Like when he was like, yes, I'll come on, Watch What Happens Live. And in his head, what do you think his motivation was? He's like, I want to go on to blank.
I honestly don't know how much thought he put into it. I think that the fact that he went on and said so much shows that, listen, they won't want to keep this train going, okay? Lala said somewhere that she sold enough Send It to Daryl sweatshirts to cover her down payment for her new over $1 million house. So they are all cashing in on this, and I look at it totally from that lens from these people. He's relevant. He's more relevant today than he was last week as people were slowing down talking about him. So I think that's probably always a reality star's motivation. And even the nicest ones, even the ones I like, it is what it is. Like even with Shaz, like Shaz of Sunset, and I love all of them with the exception of Mike. Like when Mike came out and all that bad stuff went down with him, they were talking about it on their podcast, and they were going on other people's podcast. And why? Because it brings the spotlight on them, which has people buying their products, which has people paying attention, and we're going to talk about this later, has put Reza back on a reality show, Traitors, and we're going to talk about another new reality show he's going on. So, is he going to talk about Mike? Yeah, because ultimately it makes him relevant. And the best part, it's not his own shit. It's someone else's shit. They like, as much as they all feel bad for Ariana, come on, this is great for them. Like, it's all this exposure without them having to split with somebody or have a drama in their own lives.
Right. Well, and speaking of, we have been talking a lot on Cocktail Party, posting a lot on Cocktail Party about another cheating scandal. And you be the one to kind of share what we want to share here versus on Cocktail Party. But there is, talking about having the spotlight on or off, another cheating scandal that is also related.
We should just cover the lawsuit that is now. I mean, we posted it a couple days before, and then I said it was going to come out, and sure enough, it did, which is why I was comfortable posting the documents, because they were public documents. There are legal websites with these documents. So I'll read one of the emails. There's a lawsuit against a former West Coast housewife. One of the allegations, as there are a few, is that her son-in-law, who works for one of her companies, pressured another employee for sex. So this is just semantics, but the way that I understand it, Amanda, is that the lawsuit isn't against the son-in-law or the ex-housewife themselves. The plaintiff is suing the company the plaintiff worked for, which isn't an ex-housewife's company, but they are the distributors of the wine, right?
Yeah, so, and for anybody who kind of doesn't understand that part of the business, the distributors and winemakers make these exclusive relationships. So if I am I'm going to sell Amanda wine, I would go to a distributor and be like, okay, distributor, you have the exclusive rights to distribute my wine in the US or in, Canada, etc. So they have these very close partnerships, just so that you guys kind of understand why it's a pretty tight relationship, even if it's two different companies.
Right. So the employee is suing the very large, apparently the person who originally sent all this to me works in the biz, and they're one of the top people. So she's suing her employer for fostering a toxic and sexist work environment, and is citing the son-in-law's behavior as an example in the lawsuit. So it isn't exactly that the ex-housewife or son-in-law are being sued. Rather, a company they're partners with is being sued by their own employee. And then, per the lawsuit, it does sound like she had something ongoing with the son. She says that she went to his hotel room. This is all in the lawsuit. And it sounds like this went on for a period of time. In my opinion, after reading this, I'm not sure how I feel about the lawsuit itself. The things described are accurate: work with clients, dinners, late nights. I get the feeling that there was a need to roll out the red carpet for the ex-housewife and her son-in-law. However, to be in so many one-on-one situations like she alleges, and again, these are allegations in a lawsuit, so could she be making this all up? Yes. I can tell you that her public Instagram does show pictures of her with the son-in-law, actually also with the daughter-in-law and with the mother-in-law around the dates that are named in the suit. So she does, in fact, she did work for the company, and she did have relationships with them. She says that when the wife and the mother-in-law weren't there is when the affair would go on. And then we posted the actual documents, which I feel like they're kind of out there now. I don't know if we need to go into all of that. It's on the site, guys. So if you want to read it, it's there for you.
So here's the thing. So I did not go through every page of the lawsuit like I love to do in this case, because just it's been a crazy week and whatever. But with a lawsuit like this, she's got to prove that she was somehow encouraged by the company to do some of these things and to allow things that may not be appropriate, like having a client invite you back to the hotel room. She's got to prove that the company was pressuring her to do that. Otherwise, it kind of could sound like they were just sort of having an affair, and now she's kind of retaliating towards whoever she kind of can. So, again, I think it'll be interesting. We'll follow this case, guys, and we'll keep an eye on like what's happening and all of that. But, I think this is what it does sound like, unfortunately, and who knows, where things will go. But what it does sound like is it does sound like there was an affair. And that there was some cheating going on, is at least what this person is alleging. And that's just, I feel badly.
So this was last weekend, and now we're recording on Friday. So it's been like a full 4 business days. There has been no public statement from the son-in-law. The daughter-in-law did actually post like family pictures, which she doesn't often do to her stories when all of this was being reported. So, it's impossible they don't know about it, because basically every Bravo social media account has reposted this in some version.
Right.
So,
well, I saw on Bravo Snark side, who pretty frequently, I really enjoy that one. They will pretty frequently repost posts from Crazy Days and Nights. And this was a blind that implied that part of the reason, so listen to this. This is quite the conspiracy theory, and I love a conspiracy theory. Part of the reason that Scandoval broke when it did, and the fact that like more details kind of keep trickling out every few days, that this is all a ruse to keep attention away from the lawsuit. So I find that to be quite far-fetched. I think that there was some fortuitous timing around, but I don't think the fact that like Ariana picking up the phone so Tom won't step on it at his concert and then seeing what she saw, I don't think there's any way to like push that to happen in the universe. However, the fact that little details keep coming out, I think there could possibly be some strategy to it. I think
and hear me out, Amanda. And I'm not saying this is what I believe, but there is another theory, right? That none of us are talking about, because I guess we all want this to be what it is, which is a shocking thing. The other theory is, and I was sort of like thinking this in my head, and I figured why not say it out loud? What if Sandoval and Ariana actually broke up a while ago, right? We had heard rumors that they were open relationship, broken up, what have you. And of course, they always denied that. What if they broke up a while ago? Last season was very boring. I think COVID saved Vanderpump. I don't even know if they would have been renewed, but because of that, they got that other season. And then they decided to bring it back. And the season was pretty boring. As a matter of fact, we found out, and again, cocktail party tea, that we found out that they weren't going to air Sheena's wedding. And she actually is not, I forget how I worded it because my source sent it. She makes like a daily rate. She doesn't make as much as some of the full-time cast members. And again, guys, I'm not sure why. Because
who doesn't make as much?
Sheena.
Oh, Sheena. Okay.
In any event, they actually ended up filming her wedding and putting it in because it was such a slow, boring season. So with the knowledge of that, what if Ariana and Sandoval broke up anyway? And what if he moved on to Raquel? And maybe Ariana wasn't happy about it, because even if you are split, you probably don't want him moving on with somebody you're friends with. What if they did all of this because they knew it would get, I don't think anyone could have known this was explode in the way that it did, but they figured it would secure them another season and they were broken up anyway. Here's my thing if that's true. If that theory is true, which guys, literally off the top of my head, I'm making this up. Nobody has told me this is the case. If that were true, are you laughing?
I'm laughing because I love a conspiracy theory. So I'm like, tell me more.
But here's what I think. Here's what I think the chink in the armor is going to be. The clink in the armor. Here's what I think is going to mess it up.
Yeah.
The chink in the armor. Here's what I think is going to mess up the whole thing. I don't think that Raquel will be able to withstand the backlash. And I think if that's the case, when she really is about to get canceled and nobody's like come around and turned around on her, because let's face it, at some point people may forgive Sandoval. He could do something, he could donate to charity. People forgive men. Is it fair? No, but it is what it is. So I think she'll come out and be like, this was a fucking storyline. Yes, we were dating, but they were broken up. If if this psycho conspiracy theory I just constructed recording this pod is true, she will be the one to give it all up. And then what?
Okay. I love the theory. I love a good theory. I just don't believe it. Based on the way everything went down, like based on the fact that like Rochelle and Sheena were on Watch What Happens Live, and then the phone call happens, and then Sheena and Rochelle get in the fight, and like Lala's like, I mean, rabid, and you know what I mean? I just don't think, I think it was revealed. I don't think anybody but Schwartz really, and Rochelle and Sandoval knew. I think back in January when I do think there was probably some rumors going around. And I do think probably Ariana and Tom had probably broken up, or, you know, talked about breaking up and maybe gotten back together. So I think all of those things happen. I think what's going on now is that now that Scandival has broken and it was huge, I think there was a huge amount of traffic and money and attention, new people probably joining Peacock so that they could watch all the past episodes of Vanderpump. I think now the powers that be at Bravo and Peacock and the production companies are like, oh my God, this is a crazy gold mine. Let's time out the way that details get put out, because we've got to ride this wave as long as possible. So we'll see. I guess we will see. But I agree. If your scenario is right, of course Rochelle will be the one to crack, because I
mean, Sandoval could crack too, but I don't think he would, because unless they canceled him from the show.
Yeah. No.
Right? But then you're not winning anybody back at that point, so now we're supposed to like you because you lied to us?
So by the way, that whole scene where Rochelle comes to Katie's room, like, can you imagine if you and I are like Katie and Christina?
Oh my God.
And Rochelle comes in, like, I actually thought Katie and Christina were very restrained. I think they could have torn her apart, and it's like, what in the actual F, Rochelle? Like, wow.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of her, but
maybe there is something that isn't fully right about her. Maybe there is like
I think she has mental health issues or a personality disorder. You know, somebody reached out to me and they were like, you know, I'm a very introverted person and I feel like she comes across as awkward. And I'm like, no. You can't put this on being introverted. Introverted people don't have year-long affairs with their best friend's partner of 10 years. No.
Introverted does not mean you don't have morals.
Right. This has nothing to do with like outgoing and shy versus outgoing versus shy. No, guys. Let's get it together. But the thing is like nice, good people don't want to believe somebody's capable of that. It's like whenever, I think I've said this before, whenever I watch like a real, you know, Dateline about someone getting murdered, I never believe it's the person who did it. And my husband's always like, the person is dead. Somebody did it. So it could be that person. And it's like always hard for me to imagine because it's such a, you know, awful, disgusting thing. But obviously people do it. So.
Yeah, agreed. I always want to see the best in people too. But I also know like the difference between introversion, extroversion, and morals. Okay, wait, what else do we have? Oh, so do you want to talk about that other email?
Let's move to Jersey. Move to Jersey because I think that isn't out there yet.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let
me just go down into my notes. Okay. So, all right. I had two of my favorite moments from this episode of Jersey. And I want to get your reactions on each. So let's talk about one at a time. First moment, Dolo and Jen tell everyone at the like coffee ground lunch that Teresa had a vision while meditating about having them as bridesmaids. Melissa's face. I was like, you could tell, like, she was trying and she just like could not hold herself back by like, it was like a little bit shock, a little bit disgust, a little like, what the WTF? Like, it was, I'm like, somebody's got to screenshot that and give it a meme because her face said so much without her saying a word. What did you think?
I also think that, Melissa turned around and like looked at Dolores like, are you kidding me? She didn't even have you at the engagement party. I just find it quite convenient that now that Dina isn't going to be a bridesmaid, all of a sudden Dolo is asked to be one. And I'm sorry. And I don't buy the whole Dina didn't go to the wedding because it was filmed. I'm just going to say, I think based on a lot of intel that we've received, Teresa, Louis, Dina, and her husband, we know, all hung out. They even traveled when Teresa and Louis were first together. I believe they were there for their engagement. They flew in Dave's private jet for Teresa's lavish 50th party. Right after that is when they stopped hanging. Now, I'm not clear on if there was a business deal or if Louis proposed a business deal. What I do know is that the men are not fond of each other. Now, I do believe that Teresa and Dina have a loyalty and respect and obviously long history with each other, and I don't think that they are mortal enemies. I think that they have brokered some version of peace between themselves, but Dina is a very private person, and she won't come out and speak on this. So Teresa can make this any way she wants, right? She can do whatever version she wants, and Dina's not going to say anything. So, I mean, I do think that Dolores is sort of, I'm just going to say it, I think she's being a bridesmaid for the show. I think it gives her more airtime. I think it gives her more of a storyline, again, without having to focus on herself. Do I think if they were not on a show and Dolores had a close, longtime friend like Teresa who didn't invite her to her engagement party, who then somebody that she used to be friends with who really she doesn't like now drops out of the wedding, the bride asked me, and also I do believe that at the time she asked Dolores, it was to get back at Dina because I do believe they were in a fight at that time. So do I believe that in real life, outside of a television show, Dolores would accept this? No. Do I think Dolores would attend the wedding? Yes. I think that she would attend, but say, no, I'm not going to be a bridesmaid. That's
Right.
my opinion. As the great Tamra Judge says.
Do you think that Dolores and Jen had to like go and practice in the mirror so they could keep a straight face when they told the story about the meditating thing?
I think Dolores did. I really think that Jen admires and loves Teresa a lot. I know everybody says she's up her ass. I do believe that initially when she came on the show, there was a piece of her that stuck with Teresa because she felt like she was never going off the show because she's Jersey. And if Jen was her soldier, it would secure her. I do believe that. I think in time they do have a very true friendship. And I think, well, at least Jen, I would say I think Jen really loves Teresa. And I think Teresa really appreciates that she will soldier for her no matter what. If she could have a vision in the night and Jen will believe it and Jen will tell everyone she had the vision.
Yeah. And that's my other question. Do you think Jen would be like, would ever speak an ill word about Teresa? Do you think she would ever be like, yeah, it's fucking weird that Louis said that he wears, yeah, I don't think so either. And I think Dolo does a good job of like walking the line and like staying, like, I don't know how she does it. She should be an ambassador.
Yeah. And I think that the reason that Teresa hasn't turned on her, I know that, listen, Teresa didn't ask her to be in the wedding. And I think it's because she's not as loyal of a soldier. But she's not an OG, but she has been around since the beginning because we know she was going to be cast and she was in like, the scenes with the Manzos. So I do think there's a side of Teresa that knows that Dolores is there of her own right. She's been there the whole time, so she doesn't need to pledge allegiance, whereas a new person like Jen or Danielle or Rachel does.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
So
yeah.
Dolo is as established in Teresa's mind. She's not as big as Teresa. She's not as big a star in Teresa's mind, but she does feel like, well, she can make, you know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
She can't
Agreed.
boss her around as much, and she doesn't expect to be able to, but she does expect loyalty, and she does get it, so
Yeah. Agreed.
I don't think Jen would ever. I think if Teresa made up a complete and total lie about anybody else on the cast and asked Jen to back it up, she would.
She would do it. I agree.
Yes.
Okay. My second favorite moment was this coffee ground reader, which, by the way, guys, like, I actually, just sharing, just so you know where I'm coming from, I actually believe in psychics. I believe in tarot card readers. I believe in, like, all of this stuff. I think they actually have the same base gift, but use different mediums, coffee grounds or tarot cards or whatever. I actually have a really crazy story about a very good coffee ground reader. Maybe I'll tell that on the bonus pod when we record that later. But anyway, the looks on the faces, you could have just watched that part. I should go back and watch it just with no sound, because everyone's the looks on their faces were so priceless. I really hope there's like a whole deleted scene. Maybe they'll show like on the never before scene, just to see the rest of that whole situation.
Oh my God. But you know what it is? It's like, I love that they were all laughing out loud and no one was playing along except for Jen. I mean, it was so obvious. And then like when she used the word endorsement, I just cringed. It was honestly cringeworthy. And I think it also, though, I think it was a bad look for Jen. Listen, we all know that they do orchestrate certain things, but it was a bad look because it was so obviously fabricated, and it clearly highlighted to even the Jen fans that she is capable and willing to fabricate. You're supposed to make it look like it's real, Jen.
Right. Well, like, here's a question for you. So back to the, like, oh God, like, back in the Vicky and Brooks days, when Brooks was faking cancer, they had that psychic come on and say, and he said, like, I don't think it's real. I think he's faking it. Back then, I didn't really believe that it was a setup, but now I kind of do, because I think
we weren't as savvy. The fans weren't as savvy, and myself included, I have to be honest, because now there's so many accounts that post and point things out that it makes us look at other situations and question. Whereas that was 7-8 years ago. Twitter and Insta weren't covering Bravo in the capacity they are now, and we sort of believed it at more face value. Even if we questioned it, there wasn't a platform for us to sit there and debate it like we are currently doing, and like so many other followers, fans of the show do.
Right. I'm like, that was a smart way to, like, have this psychic pull out this news versus have Megan be the one, so that they can all be like, oh, and so anyway, I just was thinking about that the other day, but this was so blatant and so bad.
So blatant.
Like,
so Amanda,
it was good. It was good TV. I loved it.
It was good TV. It was great. It was great. It was lighthearted. It was fun. Listen, it was good. It was very classic Housewives. It was good. I want to touch on Pizzagate. I think so many accounts have covered both sides well. So with that said, my feeling on it is, what we know to be true is that Louis himself invested $102,000 or $4,000 and got these ovens. What we don't know, we can all make our best guess. Like, Louis went behind the back and changed the name, and then Joe didn't want to put any money in. Or the Teresa fans will say, no, they only changed the name and did the photo shoot after Joe said he wouldn't take 5%. Whatever it is, here's my thing. On their best day, Teresa and her brother are on thin ice, okay? Even when things are good, they've never been great. I do not believe that there should be a business between them. Furthermore, if you are going to do business with a relative that you have notoriously fought with for your entire adult life, there should be no discussion, idea sharing, or anything without an attorney present drafting a contract in real time, period. So, like, I find the whole thing ridiculous because of that. And, like, to me, the details are sort of irrelevant because it doesn't make sense to me why they would do this in any capacity. And then, let's say Okay, well, they're two reality stars and it could make a lot of money. And why shouldn't they? Okay, then the attorney should have been present and everything should have been done legitimately.
And we talked about this before. Like, this is where I was like, I just don't think it's adding up. And, like, there are so many steps to starting a business, and how the money goes into places, like, it matters, right? Like, you can't mix personal and business money. It has to be very clear. Like, you're putting money into a business account, because then it becomes the business accounts, and then the money you put in is considered, your contribution. And then based on that, and based on your contract, right? Because if somebody's doing sweat equity, or it's their idea, but somebody's investing more money, you have to have a contract for, well, what does that mean, in terms of ownership percentages? So I don't know. I just, again, like, there's so many steps. I think I agree. Totally bad idea. And I also just think the math isn't mathing regarding going from 100,000 to he lost $250,000 because of Joe Gorga. Like, I just don't,
And I
can't
think
see the connection.
I think the reason, and yeah, I agree with you. And I think the reason neither side brought it up before is because they realized how stupid they look. Because whether the idea was stolen, whether he put the money in, any person would say to you, whether they are a business owner or not, you don't go into a business with somebody without a contract. Period. Dot. Done. So that's why they didn't bring it up. Nobody was protecting nobody. Okay. Teresa didn't want to look stupid. Louis didn't want to look stupid. Joe didn't want to look stupid. Melissa didn't want to look stupid. And then they got into such a beef that it came out. And now they're trying to blame either side. And to be honest, we may never know because we weren't there and there was no attorney present. And, they may really see their versions as different, right? Like Joe may say to himself, well, I had full intention. He was quick to order these ovens. And so I was going to pay the next shipment. But like that may really be his truth, where Louis sits there and goes, but I paid for it. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
but once again, both of them are business owners and they know how this shit works, right? You don't just go and like buy a bunch of pizza ovens. You say like, okay, we're going to put the money in and then we're going to use the business account. But in order to have a business account, you have a contract, and you have I think in New Jersey, you might even have to have a license to have it. Like, there are so many steps. And this is why I totally agree with you that I think they realize they both look stupid. So yeah, I completely agree.
And a lot of people are saying to me like, oh, you're not posting as much Jersey. I'm not, and it's purposeful. And I'll be honest with you, I am very clearly side more with Melissa. I relate to Melissa more. I side with Marge more. With that being said, it's such a toxic environment on social media with Teresa fans. Like, we can all agree there are so many accounts that disagree with Christian Grace. No, we disagree about like almost every housewife, but we're friendly. We share each other's stuff. We support each other. These new accounts that only focus on how bad Melissa is. My comeback to that is, if she's so bad and so boring, why can't you guys stop talking about her? The ratings are higher than ever. We can all say we're sick of this feud. They're not getting rid of her so long as people are tuning in and people are talking about her. Look how that worked out. They got rid of Rena. Why do I say her name wrong? And we're hearing it's a struggle bus of a season. The Jersey production team is not going to do that. People tune in, people talk. The reason that I try to disengage is because it becomes like people DMing and fighting and really being very aggressive. And it's like, we're watching a television show. It's just a television show. And we're sharing our opinions. And when that turns to this like really unhinged, negative, gross place, I have to disengage because I just can't. So I'll comment about it here. I'll repost the funny no PJs, but I do stay away from it because to me, it's not that serious and people are making it way too big of a thing.
Well, moving on. So Summer House, we could talk I wanted to actually bring up that yesterday I saw on Bravo's Instagram account that they did a post which led to like an article on the website about Lindsay Hubbard wanting to be a housewife, which I thought was very interesting, right? It was coming from Bravo, the network itself. And my thought was like, do you ever wonder if they sometimes do this specifically and on purpose to see what people will say in the comments, like kind of a social media focus group.
Absolutely. I think certainly it's a newer thing they do. I think they've also use accounts to gauge, people's interest. And I have to say, the fact that they did that shows that they're very invested in Lindsay as a Bravo personality. I think she'd make a great housewife. She's great television. I do not see Bravo giving her up. So I do think that it's possible. I feel the same way about Paige. She's another breakout star that whether Summer House is or isn't, I think that they're going to want to stay with her in some capacity. Kyle is another great example. We saw him on Traitors. But then, Amanda, I do remember others like MJ and Reza, who were similar presences with the network, right? And we never really saw the day where they wouldn't be there in some capacity. And we do know they're still trying to get stuff greenlit. We do know that Reza was on Traitors. But interestingly, another network, we posted this is new news. There will be a show called The Boss. It's going to be airing on Freevee or Amazon. And the people from Bravo are Jill Zarin, Kristen Doughty, and Reza, which is like so freaking random. And then a bunch of other people from Bachelorette, Survivor, Love is Blind, The Challenge, Drag Race, 90 Day Fiancé. I didn't recognize a lot of them, but they're big in whatever shows they were on. So I think those shows are great because we've said it before, like with Trader, you're getting all different streams of audience. Like I'm tuning in for the Bravo people. You might be tuning in for 90 Day Fiancé. We know The Challenge is huge. People will be tuning in for them. So I do say to myself, do I think that they're feeling people out? Yes. But the problem is, and I think this is why Lindsay's pushing, she's pushing a spinoff, be it wedding, be it bachelorette party, be it a combo of both, because there is a window of time. And if you don't get that person in and on something in some way, you lose the audience and you're no longer a relevant person. And then you start going to like, divorce boot camp, relationship boot camp. You know what I'm saying? Or like this show, like, listen, these people are all going to be on The Boss. It's a huge cast. It's a different network. They're not making nearly what they were making at the height of whatever shows they were on, right? But it's a platform for them and they remain relevant. And it's smart because they know that their star is fading. I hate to put it like that because they're great people. It also makes me laugh how like Kristen Doughty was like, I would never go back on Vanderpump Rules. Really? But you're willing to go on a challenge on Freevee? Okay.
Well, and I think maybe, I think Lindsay is just seeing like her time on Summer House is probably coming to an end, and I think one of the things like in the marketing world, like it's a joke that like it's a very common joke about like the cobbler's children have no shoes, right? Like that marketing firms or marketers are sometimes the worst about marketing themselves. I think Lindsay is a big exception to that because I think she is doing a very good job at publicizing herself and, really trying to work into that next move. So, and I would be here for it. I think she would be like, I agree. I'm kind of over her on Summer House, honestly, but I would love to see her as a housewife.
In a different capacity, definitely.
Yeah. So,
and I think there's another place for her. It's just, I think what I said, striking it while it's relevant.
Right. Well, there's your focus group, Bravo. I hope you're listening.
Cocktailers, we love you. I hope that the audio is okay because I am in the library in my condo because I can't seem to figure out. Well, I sort of figured out the Wi-Fi, but I couldn't figure out where to put all the children. So we love you guys for tuning in. And till next time.
Thanks, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor, just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then like forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at @bravoandcocktails_. And check out the website because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.